pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for July 16, 2012. Have a roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Martin Manick.
Here.
Gerard Renadette.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 01221. It says it can't be 21, it must be 216.
Right.
Approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of July 2nd and July 9th, 2012 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed
Have a
with.
motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. This is part of our meeting where we invite anyone who would like to address the board to do so. Ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes and state your name and address. And when that doesn't happen, we anxiously move forward. Resolution 217, abstract 7B.
Resolved that the abstract of audited claims number 7B-12, 1441 to 1563 for $1,903,831.24. And abstract 7B-12, 297 to 314 prepays in the amount of $334,190.46. Be received as reviewed by the audit committee and the supervisors hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. Resolution 218, Codes and Zoning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Imhoff, Code Enforcement Officer, for the month of June 2004.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 219, Historians Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a historian's monthly report for the month of June
Have a
2012.
motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 220, Planning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Phil Von Bargen, Planning and Engineering Department Head for the month of July 2012.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? I guess I just feel almost guilty in not commenting that the planning as well as our codes and zoning, there is a report. There are a number of activities, a number of requests for permits, some new projects starting, some projects that have been ongoing for a while as well. And out of due respect for our planning with the Clinton County Fair here this week, they will be extremely busy, adding to their obligations the inspection of the grounds, they get involved with the rides, et cetera, to make sure everyone has a great week, a safe week, which is pretty traditional with the Clinton County Fair that is housed at in the town of Plattsburgh, and we hope attracts two things: one, many families and visitors to the area, and a little bit of rain that we need. It is a
I think
trick.
it's attracting that now.
It is the fair.
It is the fair. They work very hard, the fair committee, and we certainly do wish them a great event. But it also does impact the town with the fireworks and so on and so forth. Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 221, Supervisor's Monthly Financial Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file the supervisor's financial report for the month of June 2012.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Manning, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 222, Town Clerk's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Rick Collins, Town Clerk, for the month of June
I have
2012.
a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renner, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, discussion. Rick, anything you want to make comment in this session?
As you can see, the revenue on the dog licenses every month declines, so all I can tell you is David's been extremely busy because the notices that Danielle sends out, people are getting them, and they're also calling to want to find out how come their neighbor 2 houses down has got 3 dogs, and he doesn't see them licensed, so consequently David's been out on a routine visit to just about every neighborhood in the town, giving them notices to get in and register their dogs, so I would say we're up to about 98% coverage right now.
Okay, that was a question I was going to ask you, which is pretty significant for a number of reasons. That's an extremely high percentage, and I know we talked, I think at work sessions about having a license that could be for multiple years, a 2, 3-year license. I don't know if there's any more information on that. Are we getting near approaching that, doing an amendment to the law, or what, Rick?
No, that some of the towns looked into it, and the ones that I've been to with the town clerks meetings and everything, everybody stayed with the yearly one.
Why was that?
Well, it was easier to keep track of onto it, because if you do go for 3 years and the person's dog license rabies expired mid-term of the thing, so you gotta keep track, it's more paperwork to send out to remind them that, they have to bring in their rabies certificate or not. Well, this way, if we do it on a yearly basis, the computer automatically tags it onto it.
I never thought of that, Rick.
So you don't have to do double work. When you send out the renewal form for the license, it tags on there if the rabies is current. If it's gonna expire within that year, then it automatically tags the thing where they have to send a copy of the rabies certificate when it's renewed. Like now, if somebody comes in July and it runs out in October, so it automatically tags the 2 together. So it's done within that year.
Could we consider the possibility of, if somebody is doing the rabies vaccination this year and, offering it at that point, as long as they show proof of vaccination, do a multiple year?
That's a 3-year, isn't it, on the rabies shots?
3 year.
So, yeah, letting them get a 3-year
As long as,
in the year they got a rabies.
right, offering it that way, so that there's the discount, and
And
we know that, you're right, it's in sync, there's no possibility of the rabies going, running out, the vaccination running out midway through a 3-year. And we can, that way there, the owner could save themselves some money by registering for 3 years rather than annually.
Yeah, but it's not, unless you give them a discount on if they do it for 3 years.
I would.
Everybody else, that was the main reason for doing it, when the Ag and Markets lady was there, is to be able to keep track of the rabies and stuff, because if you do it on a 3-year thing, and somebody lackadaisical onto it, and it expires, the dog goes out and bites somebody, well, then the dog's quarantined, and then that person has to go through all the shots and all of this other stuff,
But if the proof is given the year that they register the dog, and the vaccine is good for 3 years, then when they come to re-register the dog 3 years later, they have to re-vaccinate the dog. So it's not like there's going to be any lapse in either or. It's worthy of consideration, I think.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 223, Water Wastewater Department's monthly report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Scott Stoddard, Water and wastewater director for the month of June 2004.
Have a motion. Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
It's another very busy department. I understand there was a break in Scholar Falls that also that they were a party to, taken care of, so. We're scheduled for a committee meeting, Tom and I, tomorrow morning, so I'm sure we'll get some more updates on some of this stuff.
Also might be important to know, we did put a request out a couple of weeks ago. There was a very dry spell, as we had been through last week, asking people to conserve, and they were very good. Conserving just enables us to catch up with production and refilling our holding tanks. We didn't have a concern with the water supply. When you have a reservoir, a dam that's withholding water back for your municipal use, you've got a visual. You can see what that supply looks like. The good news, the bad news, we don't. Ours is out of the aquifer. You can't really see into the ground, but geologists have told us this aquifer may go as far as Messina. That dries up, we got real problems. And the department, and you all well know on the committee, Tom, that a number of things, a number of recommendations they follow through with to be more productive, more efficient with the wells that we have, and they do really well. I believe they can pump over a couple million gallons a day. But no matter what, if it were 20 million gallons a day, if you're using 21, you come up short. There was a little misinterpretation about the need. It wasn't a ban. We weren't looking at a drought. We weren't in any sort of danger. We just asked folks, when it's dry, they're using more. Water is so inexpensive in the town at $1.41 a thousand gallons. We've got people that let the sprinklers and the soakers just kind of run all night. You get a good soaking. And we got a couple days of compliance. The tanks did really well. If anything, I erred. I didn't think that the media would be continuing, or our customers would continue to conserve until they were told it was all clear. So, mental note: when we do that, we need to thank folks and let them know right away that go at it again. But at no time, I guess any of us, we take a lot of things for granted. Even things like the aquifer does have some sort of limitation, and it isn't just the growth of the town that taps into it. Natural resources do need to be conserved, and we should all be conscious of the supply, and certainly not be wasting. Wasting has no value under any conditions. But it's important to clarify that. There was a little concern that maybe the supply was getting low, but it isn't the supply, it's keeping up with the demand. Anyone have anything else
No,
concerning the
just
report?
to expound on that just a little bit more. It's been a topic of discussion the last couple of months. Tom and I have heard from Scott and Paul in Water and Sewer. It's not so much the supply, it's like you said, the demand. We have a 6-inch, I believe it is, wellhead that we're trying to pump water out, but we should really be pumping to a 10-inch. So right now we've got hydrologists coming in to take a look at it, see what would be the best way to rectify that problem. Do we sink another casing next to it? Do we try to drill out what we've got? We don't want to fraction what we've got and cause any problems. So that's what's being discussed and looked into. And again, nothing comes cheap, so there will be a price tag attached to it, but we will be able to meet the demand of not only our residents but the adjacent towns that we supply to.
Also probably worth noting that I did receive word from the city that they were there, they were interested. If we did have any needs, please let them know, and they'd be glad to help out in any way that they could.
Also, I just read an article where we're telling them that as far as soaking lawns and stuff, that it's better to do it every 3 or 4 days than every day, a little bit, so they don't have to do it quite as often.
Well, you want that root system to go find natural sources of water. Shallow rooting is a short-term plan. Okay, very good, thank you. Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Mark Manatt,
Yes.
Gerard Resident.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 224, Town of Plattsburgh, Freedom of Information Law, FOIL Request Policy Amendment.
Whereas the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board recognizes and encourages the rights of all citizens to be aware of the process of governmental decision-making and to review or obtain documents, policies, procedures, and other actions of the town government in accordance with the Committee on Open Government and the opinions that have been rendered. And whereas periodically it is necessary for the town board to make revisions to the existing policy and to incorporate said revisions therein. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh desires to amend the FOIL request policy adopted June 15, 2001, by resolution 09-215. Therefore be resolved that the attached policy be adopted and be strictly adhered to and enforced as stated therein. And to be further resolved that the FOIL request policy be shared with all department heads and placed in the town's official policy handbook. And it be further resolved that said policy is to take effect upon adoption.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Ronadak, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Yes, if I could. Following Monday night's work session, I gave Mrs. Blake a copy of what we had drafted. It is exactly as the one that we're presenting tonight, and I asked Debbie to please take a look at it and give me her comments. What I received was 9 pages. I've never received a 9-page response to a 3-page policy, but Debbie, I didn't respond directly, but I do want to comment on some of the things. The policy procedure, call it whatever it will. The law, like you said, is the policy is the law is the policy, the procedure is how we'll carry it out. It's this town board's intention to see to it that all information is available as is required by the law. We're not trying to hide anything. I don't know that doing the changes that you suggested would change this in any way, make it any better, any worse. One of the suggestions that you made was that we shouldn't name an office, we should name a person. I again think that by naming the office, the town clerk's office, and the employees there as responsible for answering the FOIL request goes even a little bit above and beyond, because if both, we said the town clerk and the town clerk was out that day, we'd have nobody to respond. This way here, being the office, whoever is certified and appointed to work in that position, they can answer that request. I had a few other things that I had highlighted. I don't want to go into a whole lot of stuff. Article 4, which is the biggest part of the change that we did in this, I put in there that we will endeavor, and you weren't really happy with the word endeavor. The law, and Bob Freeman has several opinions on this, basically says that if information that you're requesting, documents you're requesting are being used by other departments or not available, then they won't be given out. We have to give a reason, but they won't be given out until they are made available. Again, that's where I think the endeavor comes in. So I hope that everybody will be happy with this. This is the town board's pretty much mandate to its department heads. This is how it will be handled. It's our intention to make sure that FOIL is followed under the letter of the law, and this is the best we could do. So that's my response. Okay.
I haven't seen that, I don't know if anyone else has, but.
I didn't share it with anybody because I think that there's comments in here that I wouldn't put in. I don't know that Debbie would want me to share it with anybody.
It was an email to her, so it's
They're
fine.
her personal opinions
Yep.
about how things were handled,
That's
and
fine.
I will keep those close to the vest because I don't think they need to be shared.
I just,
I did think that it was necessary to answer to some of the requests for changes that she did make, and I think that we have pretty much covered a lot of that in here, so that's why I wanted to respond.
I just, for the record, we've had a number of FOIL requests from individuals, agencies, from, at times, from individuals trying to get information about a loved one to know what's going on. I mean, the purpose and intent is sometimes unique. Sometimes we've had to deal with some pretty large corporate organizations, such as Hearst Argyle, and with their attorneys. We've had projects, people that wanted to represent certain projects use us to try to get at their competition. And there are a number of concerns with not only responding, but, you know, protecting the document, protecting individuals' information, social security number, everything stuff, but we're all very, very well aware. Multiple conversations with Bob Freeman, who's, you know, the person that I think everyone leans toward for guidance, as well as multiple opinions and workshops and so on. The thing that always rings to my ears most is it has to be available. There are some parameters, you simply have to be open. And to the best of your ability in the most expedient way, and we've had a lot of conversation about that lately in Rick's office, trying to expedite things. And I'm glad you just gave her a copy. I mean, if Debbie went to Ricky's office and said, can I have a copy, his job is to say, okay, you gotta fill out the FOIL request. But that doesn't mean that, you know, everything somebody wants a copy of, we have to jump people through hoops to achieve that. It's not an easy process. The one thing that I've really tried to kick my heels in on is, in representation of all the people that live and work in the 48 square miles that we try to be responsive to, we're going to try and also do it in a manner that is cost effective. We aren't going to be hiring lots of extra staff to run through the bowels of the building and, you know, manage it. We're going to endeavor to do our very best and always respond to the request with what we have. So sometimes I found it kind of ironic, and especially with some recent requests relative to the Laurentian project. People were just determined we had things that we didn't have. We knew things that we didn't know. That isn't always the case. You know, sometimes we're in the dark as much as anybody over certain kinds of projects. But we've only got a certain number of resources. Ricky, maybe you remember, I can't recall, there's a town that I was told has the clerk's hours only on Saturday because the clerk works Monday through Friday. Only Saturday. Do you recall the name of the town? I can't for the love of me tonight. And it really is almost irrelevant, because I'm sure there are many others that have limited hours because they have limited budgets and limited personnel. So, you know, we're certainly doing a heck of a lot better than that. And I agree with your opinion, Gerard. You've sort of been given the board representation for FOIL for a number of years. Endeavoring is truly what we try to do with the office, and it really needs to be the office, because if you're chasing a particular person, that's a lot less responsive, I think. So thank you for doing that.
Not a problem. You know, just to pick up on a couple of things, all right? You mentioned about the policy. Any of our policies, I think, should and would be available to anybody who wanted to take a look at them without having to file a FOIL request. I would hope that our clerk's office, if it got that far, could just say, we do have a policy handbook. You're welcome to take a look at it. Here it is. We're not dealing with sensitive information. Where a lot of the negative comments came, both through the media and in other comments that we've received, is where we're taking a look at original documents. If it deals with an original document, we have a right to safeguard those, and that's covered under arts and culture law or some darn thing. If it's not, if it's a photostatic copy that we have, I don't see where there's a problem with it, and I would encourage the clerk's office to hand those over, let them be looked at, let them be copied.
Yeah.
But if it had dealing with originals, we need to safeguard those, and that's our responsibility, and that's what we will do.
And that may be something, you know, the clerk, the deputy clerks need to hear from the board, is that if that's, you know, what we would like, just let people have a look at it. If they want a copy, there's, you know, 25 cents a page, but keep it simple. Yeah, that certainly would be easier and a lot more
And maybe we can put this to
customer
bed.
friendly. No. Well, you never can, and again, you know, you mentioned Debbie and Ms. Blake is one of the 2-3 individuals that have been very vocal about the process. That's not the only ones we deal with. A number of attorneys, corporations, and, as I said, private individuals looking for information for personal, private reasons. And you have to really try and have good policy, follow, and be fair and consistent with everything. But I think one of the things that happened in these last few months is, we as a board have been able to try and give some support and guidance to the clerk's office as far as what he's supposed to do. If I were the clerk, I'm gonna err on the side of caution, based on all the information you get, and try to follow procedure.
So we're getting numerous FOIL requests now from attorneys that are handling property transfers, that if there's ever been anything wrong with this person's septic system or any other problems, environmental things on this piece of property, before they can have a bank closing now. The other day, it slipped through the cracks and they called and they needed something that day because they were having a closing that afternoon. So we had to shuffle stuff around to try and, get stuff from codes and zoning and planning and water and sewer and everybody involved in it, so those people could have the closing and stuff.
But that's, and that's commendable, but is that a service that you would provide to ordinary citizen? If they wanted something today, I mean, the law is very specific as to whether or not.
Most of the time, if it's something real easy to do, but when you have some of the other things that you have to go back 3 or 4 years, and it's just not, readily.
That's probably in the
accessible.
basement, right?
Right,
Yeah.
so, I mean, if things are readily accessible, we give them out, at the same time that the person is there to.
Not to
get
pick
the
on
code.
lawyers, but
No, you should.
we never do.
I'm
Well,
waiting,
I mean, it's just, that was one of those
I'm
things
waiting
that,
since March.
this is all new stuff that's coming up. That we're getting more and more from these environmental companies now through an attorney's office that, on property transfers that we never had before. So you're getting all of this stuff.
Now, you're the keeper of the record.
Yeah, before any banks will do any financing on a property, they want a clean bill of health for everything. When was the last time they had the septic tank pumped out, I mean, it's all of that
And
stuff.
a lot of it, and with the policies, is getting better for us to post
And I'm
these
waiting since
things.
March.
No, we don't keep
But it
it.
takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion on the resolution?
Yeah, I intend to vote in favor of this resolution. My instinct is to do whatever I can do to facilitate the access to records and to information. But we've been faced with a situation here in the town of Plattsburgh. When I looked at it, the only solution that I could come up with prior to this solution being put in place, you always have to look at, okay, what happens if we hire additional help and have dedicated people who can answer this stuff. The cost for us to do that would run somewhere between $18,000 and $26,000. And when I looked at the number of FOIL requests that have gone on over the last 30 months, basically the volume there is being driven by 2 people. And I can't see spending that kind of money to answer their needs. I think instead we've come up with a policy that is a reasonable, measured policy that responds to the need for people to have access and the need for the office to be able to function in an efficient fashion and for it to be cost effective. Period.
Okay. Duly noted. Anyone else? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 225, setting a public hearing to review proposed amendments to the town zoning ordinance.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh zoning ordinance provides that amendments to ordinances may be initiated by the town board appointments of a committee for the purpose of amending said ordinance. So whereas a committee duly authorized by the town board comprised of 2 town councilors, town citizens, and town staff and officials wish to establish to review the town of Plattsburgh 2010 comprehensive master plan and to make recommendations for changes, additions, or modifications to the town zoning ordinance. Whereas after review and discussion of the committee's draft amendment, the town board desires to distribute the June 2012 draft amendments for the town zoning ordinance to the appropriate agencies in accordance with Article 13, Section 13.3 and 13.4 of the town zoning ordinance and Section 264 and 265 of New York town laws as follows. Town Planning Board and Zoning Board. 2. Clinton County Planning Board and adjacent municipalities, Regional State Parks Commission. Whereas New York state law and town zoning ordinances require that a public hearing on proposed amendments be held to consider the advisability of the amendment to the town of Plattsburgh zoning ordinance. And whereas Part 617 of the Environmental Conservation Law, State Environmental Quality Review Act, Section 8-0113, seeker herein provides for review of any action to be determined the effect of said action on the environment, along with the related administration procedures for implementation, authorization of or approval of said act. And whereas Part 617.12, Section B-2 of the seeker provides the adoption of changes, the allowable use within the zoning districts affecting 25 or more acres, mandates the proposal amendments of such zoning ordinance and said zoning map amendments as type 1 action, which requires specific act by the town of Plattsburgh prior to the adoption or rejection of said proposed amendments. And whereas determination of the effect of said action on the environment will be necessary to determine whether the draft environmental impact statement is required, and whereas the town of Plattsburgh board is identified as an involved agency in accordance with the seeker for the purpose of assessing the effects of the zoning ordinance amendment on the environment and whether or not said effects is significant enough to warrant the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement. Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board has made determination that they intend to act as a lead agency, and there are no other agencies involved under the seeker for the purpose of the amendments to the zoning ordinance and maps, and have prepared the long environmental access form. And whereas the town board, town of Plattsburgh, as project successor, is required to review and use the EAF to determine the significance of the proposed amendments. Now therefore be resolved that the town board here does declare itself as a lead agency for the revisions and amendments to the zoning ordinance and maps project. It does hereby determine that the proposed project is a type 1 action, and coordinate review under seeker will be conducted. And it will be further resolved that the town board of the town of Plattsburgh does hereby receive and place on file the draft June 2012 amendment zoning ordinance, which changes are set forth in the attached draft, the town of Plattsburgh zoning ordinance amendment. And it is further resolved that the town board shall hold a public hearing in relation to the proposed amendments of the zoning ordinance at the town hall at 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, on August the 20th, 2012, at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. And it be further resolved that pursuant to all the provisions of Article 13, Section 13.3 and 13.4 of the town zoning ordinance, the town clerk shall cause a notice of the time and place of said public hearing to be published in the Press Republican, a paper of general circulation in the town of Plattsburgh at least once on or before August 20th, 2012. With such notice also being posted in the town hall and giving necessary adjoining municipalities and the Clinton County Planning Board of such agencies and parties as required by law. And it be further resolved that the notice of said public hearing and a copy of this draft June 2012 amendment for the zoning ordinance shall be posted on the town's website. And be further resolved that a copy of this resolution and the attachments be given to the town clerk, the planning and zoning departments, and adjacent municipalities, and the Clinton County Planning Board and other interested agencies.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renner, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Yeah, on the secret, this is, we don't usually, it's usually done by the planning board.
Mhm.
In this instance, we have,
We will, yes. That will be with advice and consent.
yeah, because we're gonna be sending this to the planning board to make comments on beforehand. Okay.
We are the agency.
So this is important for people to note the date of August 20th, if they want to have any input and have a chance to take a look at the plan and stuff.
And I believe Steve Messenger, who's been our consultant through the process, will be here that evening.
So is he planning on making a presentation to the public, or is it, I know that's the evening that we're have the public hearing and people can ask questions, but is he going to be able to present a
There has been I'm giving you my recommendation, there has been a session that, was well advertised for presentation and discussion. I think on this particular meeting at 6:35, he will be here to respond to any questions or concerns with the documents.
And when does it go on the website?
I'm making my little boxes to be checked off after we pass the resolution, and that's one box to be checked off.
Because the people are gonna need to be able to see that before they
Oh, absolutely.
have a chance to
If
make
we-
any comments at the next
Yep, if we
public
pass
hearing.
this tonight, one of the things we'll do, hopefully as soon as tomorrow, is get the information to Mr. Kimmel, and he will launch it.
So then if we tell people that by next week we should have something on the
I
website,
will tell them by Friday, unless for some reason Mr. Kimmel's not available, or we have a technical problem, which is sure possible with that.
okay, so everybody should take a look at it as soon as possible and check and see if it's there
Mhm.
Friday and next week if need be.
About how many pages is the document, Tom? I'm referring to you because I know you and Marty were quite intimately involved.
Yeah.
About 150?
I don't think
With
it's
all
more
the-
than 50.
The
125.
email copy that was sent to us with the table of contents and everything else was 150 pages printable.
Okay.
Well,
The
also,
document
But didn't it
itself is
have
the
all the
document itself.
original and crossed off?
we're
Yeah.
going to launch that also, and I think that's
Oh, you
very
are?
important. Yes,
All right, well then,
the
okay.
summary
so
that
70
references
pages.
where the
If
changes
you're
are.
talking about the actual
That'll shorten it
policy that we're going to be passing, I don't think it's quite that long.
Right,
But
we-
then you have the supplemental maps, and as you
I'm
said,
not counting any of those. Those were also emailed. I'm just talking the document itself without the supplemental maps, without the highlighted changes. But the document itself is a printable 150 pages.
and is there, I'm assuming that when we put this on, that Mr. Kim will be able to put on the map as well, so
That's the request.
that people can take a look at the areas that they're interested in.
Yep, that's the request. Now, the thing none of us can assume is that whoever's interested is going to have the hardware at home to be able to download that without further complex. They've got, the supporting software and drivers, et cetera, et cetera. All we can do is launch
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
it. Yes, you do, Mr. Wood. Yes, you do. Confession is good for the soul. It is very difficult, and we are very fortunate that we're working with someone now who is very cost effective. But boy, you talk about hiring people, we could hire a firm to come in here and start working, with today's date and go backwards, and they'd be here a long time to make these things like, not only electronically available to the public, but electronically available to us. I've shared with a couple of you individually as I've seen you. One of the projects I've had Michelle Bunkminster work on is town law. And we had her start with exactly that, 2-day work backwards. She has now got all laws, I believe, from 2000 through 2012 with supporting documentation. In my next department head meeting, I hope to get departments to begin to look at their piece to this. Over the weekend, as a share file, I thought that was launched. I still don't have it. I can't find it on my computer. We don't have the laws available to us in that fashion. We've discovered a couple of nuances through those years, let alone going beyond. But then those will be launched so the public is available and can access them. But it takes time, it takes money, it takes human resources, and it takes, some physical resources as well.
So for
We're
those,
going there.
yeah, for those that can't download it, then I would assume then that they could come in and take a
It'll
look
be
at it.
posted here.
Look at a copy here if
Yep.
they needed to, or look at the map here, so that everyone would have a chance to look at it who wanted to before August 20th.
Absolutely. And that's why we're using August 20, to give us a little lead time to get there. That doesn't happen with a blink of an eye. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution's carried, and tomorrow we'll scramble to start doing what we need to do, right?
Yes.
And I think we've got the draft notice for the
It's
press
in
and
the
all.
paper was attached to it.
Yeah, we edited those a couple of times. I want to be sure the one you have is the final one we edited today, so. Good. Unless someone else has some other business, that's the end of the agenda in my list. And if not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So,
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Thomas Wood,
yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we stand adjourned at 7:15. Drive safely.